Hello Elite members, welcome to another roster review. Today what we're going to do is we're going to go through my tournament Drukhari list because I thought, people might be interested in what I'm taking with Drukhari. So this is what I'm taking. And the important thing is we're going to talk about how it works. We're going to talk about what's actually in the list. Then we'll talk about how we can look at tackling it and also any modifications that we could make to improve the way that it plays. So let's get straight into it. Number one then, army list. Let's have a look what's in the actual army list. So first of all, we've got a Blackheart detachment. It's triple patrol. Now the reason I've chosen to go triple patrol is if you take all patrols in a Drukhari army, then they all cost 0 CP. But because your warlord is from one of them, you still get the command benefit of having +2 CPs for your warlord being in that detachment. So essentially you're going to have 14 command points. So first of all, I've got a Blackheart patrol detachment. In there, I have an Archon. He's got Ancient Evil, Warlord trait, which makes people fight last. It chooses one unit within engagement range and they fight last. Then he's got the Jinn Blade because it's awesome. Gives him 2 extra attacks. Strength 4, -3, flat 3 damage with 7 attacks. And of course, being Blackheart, he gets 1 reroll to hit. So he's hitting on 2s. He should get 1 miss and then he's rerolling it. So you should get 7 out of 7 hits every time he fights, which is pretty tasty. And of course, he gives reroll 1s to hit to the core units in this detachment and also all of my incubi. After him, I've got 2 units of 5 Cabalite Warriors because I need units to do actions for me and hold objectives and play the mission for me. I need expendable units. I need a few expendable units that can run out onto objectives and stuff. So I've got 2 units of Cabalite Warriors in there. I also have a Court of the Archon in there, which has got 4 Slith and 4 Urgul. They are bonkers. We'll look at it a little bit more into what they do later. And then I have a unit of 5 Mandrakes. And they, again, just to do secondaries for me, actions, and deep strike onto objectives and stuff like that. So that is 5 units in that detachment. Now that lets me take up to 5 Raiders in that detachment. What I've decided to do, though, is take 4. So I've taken 4 Raiders in that detachment, and they've all got Dark Lances. And just Dark Lances. And it's because they get the 1 reroll to hit every time the unit shoots for being Blackheart. Now, a Raider only has 1 shot, so it makes it very reliable. It has 1 shot that hits on 3s with rerolls. And then their Strength 8, -3 or -4, and the D3 +3 damage, which is absolutely huge. And they're one of the best transports in the game right now. They move 14 inches. They can still fly, which is bonkers to me. You can shoot out of them. They've got a 5-pin vulnerable save. It's just silly. Just bonkers. Then I have got a Dark Technomancers detachment, a patrol as well. Now, Dark Technomancers is pretty nice. It's a Homunculus Coven, a custom coven. So in there, I've got Drazar because it doesn't matter what he goes in. He doesn't ever get any benefits. So I've got Drazar as the HQ. Then I have 3 units of 5 racks. And in each unit, I have 2 liquefier guns. Let me just quickly run you through what Dark Technomancers does. So for being Dark Technomancers, when you roll to hit, if you roll a 1, you can basically, every time your unit shoots, you can choose to enhance all your weapons. If you roll a 1 to hit, your unit takes a mortal wound. Or if you're a vehicle, then your vehicle takes D3 mortal wounds. But that's only in the hit roll of a 1. On every other hit roll, you're fine. And basically what it does is it gives you +1 to wound and +1 damage on your weapon, which is insane. Now, that's where the liquefier magic comes in. So liquefiers are normally strength 4, -2, 1 damage. Nothing special. But with this, they become strength 4 with +1 to wound, -2 flat 2 damage, and they're nasty because they're flamers. So they're auto hit, so there's no hit roll. There's no chance of doing any more wounds to your own unit because you're not hitting, you're auto hitting. So it's very nasty. That's why there are 3 units of 5 racks with 2 liquefiers in each one. Then I've got a unit of 3 Grotesques with 3 liquefier guns. And also I've got 2 units of 7 incubi in that detachment as well. because they just hit really hard. Then in that detachment, I've got 3 raiders, so I've got 7 raiders total, 4 raiders in the Black Art and 3 raiders in this Dark Technomancers, and that's just because imagine having 3 raiders, they're hitting on 3s. They're +1 to wound. They're strength 8 with +1 to wound. And anything that goes through is now D3 +4 damage, which is insane. That is just insane. Then after that, I have got my... one of those raiders. One of those raiders has got a Phantasm Grenade Launcher on it, and I'm going to tell you why later on. Then I've got a Witch Cult detachment, which is the Cult of Strife, because the Cult of Strife is the best, I believe, with all the extra stuff you got in the Caradon book. So I've got a Cult of Strife detachment, and in that is a patrol again. And in that, I don't have very much, to be honest. In that, I've got a Succubus, the awesome Succubus. She's got the new Competitive Edge Warlord trait from the Caradon book, and then she's got the Triptych Whip relic. Then after that, I've got a unit of 5 witches, the sergeant of which I have given Morvaine's Agonizer to. I bought her an Agonizer 5 points, and I've given her Morvaine's Agonizer using the Crucible strat in the new Caradon book. And basically, Morvaine's Agonizer, if I get a hit on you, she's got 5 attacks basically, I think, on the charge. If she gets 1 hit on you, then you cannot fall back, which is incredible. Then in that, I also have 1 more unit of 5 Incubi and a unit of 9 Hellions. So I thought it was all over. I just want to say I added everything in the list that I wanted to. I got 7 raiders in there, and then I filled all 7 raiders up, and I thought, okay, this is probably over 2,000 points slightly, so I might have to drop something. And then I totaled it all up, and it was actually 1850. I was actually 150 points under. So then I just got a unit of 9 Hellions, which is absolutely amazing. That's just amazing to have on top of what I wanted anyway. Just amazing to have. Right, so that is the list. Now let's have a look at how it works. Okay, so running you through how it all works. First of all, like I said, you've got the Black Heart Obsession, which every time you either shoot or fight with a unit in a Black Heart Obsession, then you can re-roll 1 hit roll, which is particularly nice for the Archon. So the Cabalites don't really care about that. It's particularly nice for the Archon when he hits in combat with his Gin Blade, and obviously the 4 Raiders that have got a Dark Lance that are Black Heart as well. Then, of course, you get the Agents of Vex stratagem for being Black Heart in there, which is amazing. It means you use it when your opponent uses a stratagem. And every other time after that, so basically that stratagem goes off perfectly fine, it's okay. But every other time in the game after that, for the whole battle, whenever they want to use that same stratagem again, it costs them an additional CP. Now that's amazing. You're going to use this on the one stratagem that is key for your opponent, that they kind of have a clutch. You know, if they have like that clutch stratagem that they like to use every single turn, you use it on that. Then, of course, I've got the Cult of Strife on the Witch Cult detachment. And the Cult of Strife obsession, it lets me have +1 to my charge rolls if no other unit from my army is in combat with the thing I'm charging. So basically +1 to charges, very nice for the Succubus. And also it gives me always fight first, which is like free interrupt, which is amazing. Then on top of that, remember I built that Succubus with Competitive Edge and the Triptych Whip. So let's have a quick look. First of all, that Archon. He's there to give everyone rerolls to hit, but his Gin Blade makes him very nasty in combat, and he can make people fight last. So he's that kind of guy where if you've got 3 Scorpec Destroyers or 3 Eradicators on an objective somewhere, he can jump out of his Raider and he can charge them at the same time that another unit from your army, like the Incubi, are charging something else. So the Incubi charge into that thing, and they fight first, because the Archon makes the Eradicators or the Scorpec Destroyers or whatever it is fight after all of the units have fought, so they cannot interrupt. So your like Incubi fight on one side of the board, they kill some stuff, then your Archon gets to hit those guys before they hit him. Now he's got 7 attacks. He's going to get 7 hits. He's hitting on 2s and he's rerolling one of his hit rolls. So he's going to get like 7 hits. And then he's going to get like 3 wounds, even on something that's toughness 5, like Eradicators and stuff. And then they've got 6 of saves. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. You probably fail 3 of them. Well, that's 3 guys just dead. Killed 3 wound guys with a 70-point Archon. It's amazing. I think that's great. And then even if he doesn't, he can tie them up because he's got that shadow field until he fails a save, which also is incredible. So that's what he's there for. The Kabalite Warriors, again, they're just there to play the mission for me. Now, the interesting thing here is one of the 5-man Kabalite units goes in a raider with 5 incubi. That's why there's one unit that's 5 incubi. So the 5 Kabalite Warriors go in a raider with 5 incubi. They go around playing the mission. The witches the Kabalites jump out and play the mission, and the incubi jump out and punch stuff that's a threat to the Kabalite Warriors and keep them protected. It's a nice mechanic to do. Similarly, on the other side, I've got a unit of Kabalite Warriors with a unit of witches in a raider, because the witches could stop people falling back and stuff. So the Kabalites and the witches work really well together, getting me mission points and stuff like that. Like just playing for mission points. Mission points, man. Yeah, it's really good. Really good. That's what they're there for. The Court of the Archon. The Court of the Archon is there to just kick some butt for me. The Slith. The shooting's nothing incredible. They've got 3 shots each and they're poison. So, and only the Slith have guns. So that's 12 shots, basically. Nothing special, but it could plink a couple of wounds off. The main reason that they're there is the Slith get 3 attacks each in combat as well. And they're strength 5 -2. 1 damage, but they're strength 5 -2 AP. Then the Urgul get 6 attacks each, and they're strength 4 -1. So there's so many attacks there. The Slith get 12 shots, then the Slith get 12 attacks at strength 5, then the Urgul get another 24 attacks at strength 4. It's a bucket ton of attacks, and the unit's only 136 points. So you think, well, you know, you've paid 136 points, it's okay to have that many attacks, but you should have one or the other. You should either have that many attacks or be durable, but they're both. They have that many attacks. Then, of course, they've got 3 wounds each. Now, why? Why have they got 3 wounds each? they've got 3 wounds each. They get a 6-up invulnerable save, and they've got a 5-up feel no pain. Slith and Urgul, they're ridiculously tough to kill for their points. So the thing is, they hit really hard for their points, and also they're really hard to kill for their points. They pretty much always trade up. It's horrendous. But it's really cool. It's a really nice unit to have running around clearing chaff up for you. It really helps me. It really helps me against horde armies as well. Then after that, of course, I've got a unit of 5 mandrakes in there. Like I said, they will be for when I scramble or raise banners or something like that. They'll just go and get those points for me. They could start in reserve for free and then deep strike in, which is always brilliant. Then we go on to the Dark Technomancer's detachment. Now in there, of course, those racks are purely there to play the mission and use the liquefiers to keep people away from themselves and stay alive as long as possible to get me points. Drazar gives all my incubi +1 to wound, so he's there to run up with incubi. He's gonna be in a raider with some incubi because he makes them stupidly good. +1 to wound. Then he's insanely hard to kill as well, and he hits like a brick, and he always fights twice. Then I've got the unit of grotesques in that detachment. Now they go in with one of the racks. So I've got 2 units of 5 racks in the same raider. So there's 46 liquefiers coming out of there. And 10 of the transport capacity taken. Then in the other raider, I've got 5 racks with 2 liquefier guns and 3 grotesques as well with 3 liquefier guns. So there's 5d6 liquefier gun shots coming out of there, but the 5 racks take up 5 of the spaces and 3 grotesques take up 6 spaces because they count as 2. So that's all 11 spots in the transport taken, which works out perfectly. So that's what they're there for. Just run around with those liquefiers, killing all the Vanguard and stuff like that in the game. Just to give you an idea, 5d6 shots from liquefiers. When you do that, you should get about 18 shots, which is 18 auto hits. If you're wounding something like Vanguard veterans, you normally wound them on 4s, but you've got +1 to wound. So you wound them on 3s, and then you go, okay, that's 12 wounds. You've got 12 4-up invulns because we're -2. You go, okay, you fell 6. That's 6 Vanguard veterans dead. More than half a squad of Vanguard veterans dead, like 180 points worth of Vanguard veterans dead. And you're still in a transport. So it's horrible, absolutely horrible. Then of course you've got the incubi in that detachment. Now incubi are solid. They get 3 attacks each. They can all advance and charge from turn 2 onwards, I believe. And then they get +1 to hit in turn 3. So even if something's -1, they're still hitting on 2s. Then they get +1 to wound from Drazar. Every time they roll a 6 to wound, they're unmodified 6 to wound, the attack becomes -4 AP and flat 3 damage. So they're normally -3 flat 2, which is nasty anyway. But then every 6 is -4 flat 3 damage. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. But then, of course, you've got the 3 raiders in that detachment, and they've got the Dark Technomancer's abilities, so that's amazing. But one has a Phantasm grenade launcher. Now, I told you I was going to tell you why. The reason why you've got a Phantasm grenade launcher is for a nice trick you can do. So imagine you've got your unit of 5 racks and 3 grotesques inside this raider. Now, this raider can move 14 inches. Then I can use a stratagem called Enhanced Ether Sails. I believe it's called, Enhanced Ether Sails for 1 CP. And instead of rolling how far the raider advances, it just advances 8 inches. So it goes 22 inches automatically. Then after that, you can fire the Phantasm Grenade Launcher because it's an assault weapon. And then you can use a stratagem called Never Stationary. So you use a stratagem called Never Stationary, which means after firing, your unit can move 7 inches, but it cannot charge this turn. Now imagine that. Your raider has gone 1 CP, I'm going to move 22 inches. Now I've shot you with my Phantasm Grenade Launcher, I'm going to move another 7 inches. So it's moved 29 inches across the board. Then you can fire all your liquefy guns out of it, which is just mental. So it's moved 29 and you've got a 12-inch range out of it. So you've got 41-inch threat. Imagine that. You have a 41-inch threat range in any turn that you want with flamers. Liquefier guns, man. That's insane. It's just insane for what it does. So that's why the one of them has got a Phantasm Grenade Launcher on it. Then after that, of course, I have got the Witch Cult detachment. And in that, the Succubus. The Succubus is amazing. Let me tell you what the Succubus does. So the Succubus, she has got the Triptych Whip, which gives her +3 attacks, and it makes her poison 2+ in combat. And it's -2 flat 2 damage. Now, having 9 attacks is just bonkers. Hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s. It's insane. Really, really good for her points value. She's a Master Succubus, by the way, as well. So she's got the Show Stealer thing, which lets her go in, fight, and then consolidate D3 +3 inches, I believe. Yeah, D3 +3 inches, I believe, and in any direction she wants. And then on top of that, Triptych Whip gives her 9 attacks. I've given her the Combat Drug for +1 attack, so she's got 10 attacks. And then she's got the Competitive Edge Warlord trait, which means after she's made all of her attacks, any attack that didn't make it to the inflict damage step, you get an extra attack for. So basically, let's say she's got 10 attacks. She's got 10 attacks. She hits with 8, so 2 have failed. Then she wounds with 6, so another 2 have failed. That's 4 failed. Then say your opponent passes 2 saves. Now 6 have failed to get through to damage, but 4 of them have got through to the inflict damage step. Now those 4 would do their damage, then you would get 6 extra attacks for the 6 attacks that fail to get through. But she just keeps going infinitely, which is insane. Every attack that fails to go through, she gets an extra attack for. So basically, she keeps going until you either... Well, yeah, she keeps going until she's got 10 wounds on you and you've failed 10 saves and she's done 20 damage to you. She keeps going until that happens, which is absolutely bonkers. It's not the way it was intended to play. So it's been house ruled at the tournament that I'm taking this list to. And it's also been house ruled in our tournaments, which we're running, to say, so basically 6 would fail, 4 go through, fine. Then you get 6 extra attacks. That's fine. That makes the Warlord trait really good. But then after that, this second lot of attacks do not generate any further attacks. So basically, her Warlord trait is giving her an extra lot of attacks, which is cool. That's a really good Warlord trait. I think that's still very powerful, so that's why she's got that. It's absolutely amazing, I think. So she's got that, and she always hits on 2s, wounds on 2s. Amazing. Then I've got the Witch unit, 5 witches. Now they're going to run around, they're going to hopefully get into a unit. Basically, they're going to be running around doing actions for me and playing the primary mission and all the missions and stuff like that. But if my opponent's got like a decent shooting threat that doesn't have very good combat ability, they're hopefully going to charge in there, get a hit with the Morvaine's Agonizer and go, you can't fall back, which is absolutely amazing for 1 CP at the start of the game. I think that's fantastic. There's also a strat that lets me fight twice with them, which is very mean. And then I have got another unit of 5 Incubi. Of course, they've gone in the Raider, which we were talking about, with 5 other Cabalites to keep them safe. And on top of that, we have a unit of 9 Hellions. Now, Hellions are nasty. Hellions have got 3 attacks each, and I'm thinking about giving them the combat drug for an extra attack. So they got 4 attacks each. But there's the attack one, the strength one, and the toughness one is really good for them. So I don't know exactly which one to go for there. But basically, they've got a strat called Eviscerating Flyby, and it just helps you so much. You can fly over a unit. As soon as one of your models has gone over a unit, your unit counts as going over them. Then after that, you roll a dice for each unit in your unit. For each model in your own unit. So it's not like normal bombs where you kind of go, okay, my bomb has flown over your apothecary, so I get to roll 1 dice for your apothecary, and on a 4+ you take a mortal wound. It's not like that. It's I roll a dice for every model in my unit. So I go, okay, I'm going to pick your apothecary. Now I'm going to roll 9 dice because there's 9 Hellions in my unit. For every 5+, you take a mortal wound. But because you're an infantry model, for every 4+ you take a mortal wound. So you could quite easily go, okay, I've got 9 dice, I've rolled 5 4+, 5 mortal wounds, your character's dead. It's amazing. It lets you snipe. It lets you snipe characters out of your opponent's army. And on top of that, they've got loads of shots, loads of speed, and good combat. Imagine if I give them 4 attacks each. They've got 4 attacks each, hitting on 2s from turn 3 with rerolls if I want for 1 CP. And then after that, they're strength 4, -1, flat 2 damage, and I can give them rerolls to wound with with Art of the Kill from the new Caradon book. It's 2 CP and I can give a unit rerolls to wound. Now imagine that, strength 4 with rerolls to wound, -1, flat 2 damage. They're going to kill a lot of stuff. So I love the Hellions in my list. On top of that, what it also gives them is I've got Invigorated by Evisceration, which is a 1 CP strat. It's nasty. So if my Hellions kill a unit in combat, then I can spend 1 CP, and until the start of my next turn, they get a 4-up invulnerable save. That's horrendous. That's just absolutely bonkers. I don't know why I get that. That is bonkers, man. Absolutely bonkers, man. Then, of course, I've got Pick Them Apart, which is a 2 CP strat that lets me shoot and charge after falling back with one of my Calls of Strife units. But also, it worked really well because I've also got the Cruel Deception stratagem, which lets me fall back and shoot, or fall back and charge for 1 CP, or it lets me fall back, shoot, and charge for 2 CP. But it means that I can do it with 2 different units. A normal, any Drukhari unit with the Cruel Deception, and then one of my Witch Cult units with Pick Them Apart, which is amazing. That'll hopefully catch a lot of people off guard. Other things that I've got, the other strats that I might want to use there is lightning fast reactions, really nice. I can pop that when I'm chosen to be hit, one of my units, and for 1 CP there can be -1 to hit for the phase. Torturous Craft on the Grotesques gives a unit rerolls to wound in combat, which is really nice because they do more wounds and they're all 6s to hit. Sorry, 6s to wound. Then on top of that, I've got Webway Portal, so I can put my Hellions in reserve for 1 CP. Prey on the Weak, that's what I was talking about. I can choose a core unit, and they can reroll 1s to hit against a unit that's not at starting strength. And they can reroll all hit rolls against a unit that's under half strength. Then Enhanced Ether Cells, which you talked about. And finally, I've got the Shockbrow stratagem. Now, this is really quite cool. Use it when a raider charges, because they've got the Shockbrow keyword. And basically, when they charge, if they charge a vehicle that's now in engagement range of them, on a 2+, they take D3 mortal wounds. I think that's very tasty. You know, you could leave a vehicle on 1 or 2 wounds, and it's perfect to just go, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a raider in there. On a 2+, you're going to take D3 mortal wounds. So basically, that's how the whole list works. Now, I know there's a lot to take in there, but hopefully if you listen to this once or twice, you'll be able to take it all in and you'll sink in there, and you'll know that the way that this list is working is by trading up really well. And that's all the stratagems that might be useful. Now, the only thing I want to cover now is the secondaries. Now, the secondaries have been thought about quite carefully. Now, I don't want to rely on my opponent bringing stuff. Of course, if my opponent turns up with like 10 vehicles or 11 vehicles that are all 1 or 2 points for me, I'm going to bring it down and stuff like that. But I've tried to build it. In a way that I don't rely on my opponent to give me any secondaries. So first of all, I've got Herd the Prey, which is amazing. It goes in my battlefield supremacy role. So instead of engage on all fronts or domination, I can do Herd the Prey. Now I get 2 points at the end of my own turn for each quarter that there are no enemy units wholly within. So if I just keep them out of my half of the board, out of my 2 quarters, I'm going to get 4 points a turn for that. You can't score it battle round 1, but battle round 2, 3, 4, 5, you can max that out. And I'm pretty confident that this list will probably max that out in every single game. Then I've got deploy scramblers, because I don't think I can be stopped from doing deploy scramblers, really. I've got all these guys in raiders. I can get a unit out, like forward of a raider, and move it into mid-board turn 1 and scramble in the middle of the board like 5 Cabalite warriors. So I can scramble in the middle of the board with them. Then I can scramble in my own deployment zone with anything, and I've got my mandrakes to drop in from reserve and scramble in my opponent's deployment zone. So I should get 10 points for that in every game too. Then my final one, I can take while we stand. So this is the thing. If my opponent gives me something, if my opponent brings loads of something that's going to give up a secondary, I take that one. But if not, I just take while we stand. Now, it's quite deceptive, actually, because none of the racks, none of the grotesques, the awesome succubus, the archon, all of the incubi, none of those are my while we stand. So they can go out and do whatever the hell they want. And all my raiders. My while we stands are actually the unit of Hellions, which I can play tactically in those and kind of like hide and stuff. Then I've also got Drazar. Drazar's 135 points, so I can keep him pretty safe. He's a one model, he's a character, and he's hard to kill anyway, but I can keep him in the middle of everything to stop him dying. And then it's my Court of the Archon. I can just zoom them around the edges of the board in a raider if I want to, or I can put them into strategic reserve and have them come on turn 3 somewhere at the back of my board edge. So it's quite easy to keep the Hellions alive if I want to. Very easy to keep Drazar alive, and reasonably easy to keep the Court of the Archon alive as well. So I can just have these 3 units not really engaging too much and just get me 15 points on while we stand. So secondaries are pretty much sorted as well. So it's a very, very good list in my opinion. Now let's have a look at a couple of ways we might go about tackling it. So let's have a look at how we're going to tackle this list. Now, first of all, it is probably the best army in the game right now, like codex-wise, the best codex in the game. So what we're going to try and do is see if it has any weaknesses, this specific build. Now, in my opinion, I think I would struggle against hordes. Having like a horde element to your army could really help you against this. I've not played too many games with this list yet. So I'm yet to learn a few lessons and stuff. But I think a horde would give me quite a lot of trouble, just because my main answer for the horde would be, of course, the Court of the Archon. But then they're also my while we stands. So if I have to send them out to kill things like that, chances are they will also get bogged down and killed, meaning I'm going to lose points for trying to kill a horde-style unit. And it's very hard because raiders don't really do anything to hordes. I've got 600 points in raiders that just have 1 shot on them. The incubi, I think, are quite decent into hordes, but they don't have too many attacks. The succubus and Drazar will put in some work, I think, in my opinion. They'll do amazing into hordes, especially because because Drazar's so hard to kill. He's got a 2+ save, and he's got 6 wounds. He halves all damage that he takes, and he's got a 4-up invulnerable. He's bonkers, absolutely bonkers. And he's got full rerolls to hit and wound because he is the actual warlord in my army. I've bought the warlord trait and the relic for the Archon. No, sorry, the relic's free, obviously, because my warlord is Drukhari. So I've bought I've bought the Archon's warlord trait. I've bought the warlord trait and the relic on the succubus, and I've bought the extra relic by using the Crucible strap from Caradon for the witch sergeant. So I bought all those because my actual warlord is Drazar, and that's because his warlord trait is Hatred Eternal, gives him full rerolls to hit and wound. But other than that, I think I will struggle against hordes. I don't think I have that many answers to them. So a horde could be really cool. The next thing is big, sturdy obsec units. So, normally we talk about really fast-moving obsec units. I don't think that'll help too much against this kind of army because these guys are really fast too, and they can move over you with raiders and stuff like that, and they can pick little units off objectives really easily, and because they're so cheap, they trade up really well. So it'd be really hard to do it with fast-moving obsec units, but sturdy obsec units is a total other matter, like blocks of 20 Necron warriors. I think I would struggle against that just because they could put like 8 of their warriors on an objective. If they put like 8 warriors from a squad on an objective and the other 12 are like just sort of behind them. I can't really jump on that with some Cabalite warriors or some witches and go, that's my objective now, because they're also objective secured. I have to go in there and wipe them out. Now that's pretty hard. Even with an Incubi squad, I can get them +1 to wound from Drazar, but it's going to be tough to take them down. And if one Necron warrior lives, it's still their objective because their objective secured. And I'm not at that point with the tough units that I'm sending. Pardon me, with the tough units that I'm sending in. So it's pretty hard for me because my OBSEC units are small units that want to kind of take objectives off other small units, but my non-OBSEC units are my hard-hitting ones, but if they don't kill you down to the last man, it's still your objective. So I think big, sturdy blocks of OBSEC could do it. Now, I know the Hellions will help me in that matchup because they can fly over and do some mortal wounds and stuff, but then after that, they're dead, so I can only do that once. And again, they're another while we stand, so I'll lose some while we stand points. So I think that's the kind of way you've got to play this, is you've got to take sturdy units, big, strong, tough units that can hold objectives with objectives secured. So you want things like Necron Warriors, you want things like heavy intercessors because they're all objective secured and you can use things like transhuman physiology on them. You want those kind of units to be playing into this, I think. The other thing is secondaries. If you can build your list to also play secondaries without having to take anything from me, that is the biggest thing, because I only have 3 characters in my army. I'm only going to give away 9 points on Assassinate, and that's if you kill them all, which I don't think most people will. Then I have 7 Raiders, but the key thing about them is Raiders are only 10 wounds, so they only give away 1 point on Bring It Down, so you don't really want to be taking that against me. So you don't want to rely on me giving you some points, because mine should most likely be 15-10-10. Like, of course, I will probably lose one of my while we stand somewhere in the game, but I can hopefully get 2 of them pretty reliably. So I should be able to get 15-10-10 on my secondaries. Now, if you take one that I'm only giving you like 7 points for, you're immediately struggling. So I think you need to build your army to be able to play 3 secondaries that don't rely on your opponent bringing anything if you want to do well against this. Otherwise, you will, I think, inevitably lose out over the course of the mission kind of thing. The other thing is things that are fast, because when I'm in Raiders at the start of the game and I'm objectives, I'm only 1 model and I'm not objective secured. So if you just send over like 3 bikes, like every army's got bike variants or something like that. If you just send over 3 bikes or something, don't have to be obsec or anything, come and stand next to my Raider and go, right, that's my objective. You're going to lose 5 primary points as the Drukhari player, and I'm going to gain some primary points in mine, and I'm going to have an advantage over you. Now it's up to you to come to me and do something, because the strength of the Drukhari list is it can sit back and play the mission. If you think about it, Herd the Prey. Herd the Prey, I just need to sit in my half of the board, and I'm going to max that out. Deploy Scramblers, I just need to sit in my half of the board, and my Mandrakes need to deep strike somewhere in your deployment to get that for me. Easy. And then while we stand, I just need to sit back to get that. And obviously, I just need to hold my half of the primary objectives to get the same as you on primaries. So this list excels at going, right, I'm going to sit back and beat you unless you come to me. And if you come to me, you're in my threat range, so I'm going to jump out and hit you. So that's where this list excels, and that's why you want to bring units that can move really fast and take an objective off them and go, right, now you're on the back foot, you got to come forward, and you got to do something. So those are the ways that I think you go about playing against this list and how you tackle it. Now let's have a look at any modifications that we could do to make this list slightly better. Okay, now the first thing I will say, guys, is I've spent a lot of time on this list and optimizing it and stuff like that, and I love it. I love it so much. I'll be playing this most likely for a while, but there's one thing that I'm umming and ahhing about, and I think it'll only be clear to me once I've played tournaments with this. So like I said, I'm going to a tournament this weekend, and hopefully, well, you're all elite members. You're all elite members, so on Monday, if you watch Let's Talk Tactics, you'll know how I got on. But the one thing I'm thinking I could do, so I have a unit of grotesques. Now, it wouldn't be very hard for me to switch out my witch cult detachment. Now, I could switch out my witch cult detachment for another dark technomancer detachment. I can still take my succubus in that detachment. She just doesn't get the benefits of being Cult of Strife. But she can still take a warlord trait and a relic. So she can still be as good as she is for what I need her to do. She can still do, basically, she can still do what I've built her for, which is amazing. But it means in that detachment, I then don't need a witch squad. So that saves me 55 points. And what that lets me do is drop my grotesques, which in total saves me 190 points. Now, what I'm doing is I'm dropping a grotesque unit and 5 witches in exchange for 3 more units of 5 racks with 2 liquefier guns in each. So essentially, I'm dropping a grotesque unit that's got 3 liquefiers in it, and a witch unit that stops someone falling back for 3 units that are obsec, can play the mission well, and of course have 6 more liquefier guns. And the thing is, I just don't know what's better, because what that does is it does nerf my Hellions. It means my Hellions then aren't Cult of Strife and stuff like that. So I'm umming and ahhing about it, because it will make my Hellions and my Succubus not as efficient as they should be. And also my witches are gone, which I really like. But it gives you 6 units of racks with 2 liquefiers in each gun, all in transports, all obsec that can play the mission. So it's just a different style of play, and I don't know which one will be best for the list. Of course, I'm trying out my version because I have a bit of everything in there, and I think that's what I like, having the witches, the Succubus be Cult of Strife, and the Hellions in there, working to working optimally to what they can and at full efficiency. It really gives me more options than adding loads of racks in. So I'm trying the more options list and seeing how it goes for me. If it goes well for me, I'm going to keep it this way, because I like having a bit of everything. And the grotesques are no joke. You know, I've still got 2 raiders full of liquefiers. Got 2 units of racks in one unit of racks and a unit of grotesques in another one. So essentially, I'll be gaining like 3 liquefier guns. And you're like, gaining 3 liquefier guns is probably not worth actually losing all the other stuff from, but it's a different style of play. So if you were to do that, you would probably also drop the Hellions and get even more, you know, stuff in to help them, like help the racks. So it's a very different style of play, but that's what I mean. The thing you can do is drop grotesques, witches, and Hellions to take more racks and play the mission the liquefier way and have more dark technomancer units in there. So that is the only real adaptation that I would suggest you could play around with, because other than that, I think this list wants to work the way that it's written. So I hope you've enjoyed this, guys. Hope that's given you a very in-depth knowledge into what I'm thinking when I'm writing this Drukhari list and how I want it to play out. Like I say, if you would like your list reviewed in the roster review, please use the link below to submit your list. And who knows, maybe you'll be on next week, guys. And until then, see you later.